For a change, yes. Yes. Yeah.
Don't recognize you, but
No.
close.
Well, only special occasions. For meeting. Hi, nice to meet you.
Good. How are you doing? I'm going to put you on the spot.
That's no problem.
Hey, Mark. Good to see you. Excellent. Good to see you. Hey, John. Yeah, no, we want to hear it. After the initial agenda items, then we bring people on. Sure. Yeah, I'll go to the end. I'll close it to the end.
I know how it works. That's how
Welcome, everyone. Please rise and welcome. We're going to say the pledge and then stand for prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we are meeting here today to conduct matters of city business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
Amen.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order on September 4th, Tuesday at 6:35 p.m. Can I have roll call, please?
Alderman Tyler.
Here.
Pecoraro.
Here.
Ruby. Here. Ron.
Here.
Zazilka.
Here.
Also present, Mayor Arthur G. Pappas and City Attorney Luke Brown.
At this point, we'd like to start, before we get into the mayor's comments, if he has any opening comments, I'd like to bring up the people from NIMAC to give us an update and a report. If you feel free to step to the microphone.
Good evening. My name is John Cooper. I'm the chairman of the Niagara Military Affairs Council, and I appreciate the opportunity to come here this evening and present to you folks what it is that we do on behalf of the Air Base. I know some of you are very familiar with us, and we appreciate the time from Mayor Pappas being on our board and representing the cities of Niagara County on our board. And just want to mention that, and remind you, because I've been here before, as you know, that we are advocates for the base in Washington, D.C., in Albany, and at various levels of the United States Air Force. And we meet with the leadership at this base and then go on to Washington and Albany and talk to them about the important items that our commanders and leadership have. We also have a strategic committee, which is led by former commanders at the base, and talk about various things having to do with the future of the Air Force. You know, they say that the Air Force changes about every 3 years. As leadership changes, the direction may change. And so we try to keep on top of things and know what is in the future for the Air Base. You know, one thing is when you go to Washington to advocate for your base, everyone wants their base. Everyone wants that huge economic engine in their community. And it's great to be cheerleaders for your base, but it isn't really what the military is looking for. They're looking for military value. What is it you bring to the table? And so that is something that we need to continue to drive home as leadership changes, not only in our government, but also in the military. And the last thing is we're a liaison for the base. There's a couple of things that I put on your desk there, I hope you don't mind. One is having to do with encroachment. And we work on a regular basis with the communities of Wheatfield and Niagara. Those towns surround the base, and it's very important that nothing get built there that may encroach on the airfield and make it difficult or impossible to do the mission of the United States Air Force there. We really, our main mission is to keep that base there. So as a liaison, we work not only with them, but there is a zone around the base that goes into as far out as Cambria and Pendleton and other towns, city of Niagara Falls, that we need to really protect, especially protect from any kind of development that may encroach on the airport. And the Air Force isn't out there trying to stop development. Basically what it is, they try to work with the community to make sure that it isn't something that would threaten the 3,000 jobs out there or well over $200 million in economic impact to Western New York, and especially to cities like North Tonawanda, Niagara Falls, and the towns that surround there. Another thing, as a liaison, is the air show. And I hope that some of you got out to the air show. It was the largest air show we've ever had, very well attended, and quite an event this past year. So I appreciate the time. I don't know if any of you have any questions.
John, I want to say thank you for NIMAC for being our lobbying efforts with keeping the airbase strong. But I want to let you know that last month I wrote a letter to the governor against the 700-foot wind generators that they're planning on perhaps installing on the Lake Ontario coast because of the impact of future missions. Now, I know the Air Force says there's no current constraints against our current mission, but that's, I told the governor, was short-sighted. You have to look at whatever future capabilities and missions you have that you have no idea what is even being developed yet that could impact that airbase. And so I came out strongly against those 700-foot wind generators on the Lake Ontario coast because of the potential impact to future missions of their airbase. And I'd love to have your comments as the chairman of NIMAC.
Sure. We were the first organization that Town of Somerset and its leadership out there approached to show some concern. Basically, we wrote a letter saying that we're not for or against windmills, but we are against anything that would threaten the air base in any way and any future missions that might be there. You'll be happy to know that this is not something that is just happening here. It's happening across the country. The military is beginning to rein in on the especially large windmills that you see, turbines that you see. But the this year's National Defense Authorization Act, the DoD budget, included language in there that covers that, and I can send that to you if you'd like.
I'd love to have it. It just seemed like the governor replied and said they're going to do the studies and get back with me after the appropriate advisors look at it. But I just think as a trained strategic military officer, you have to look at future missions and capabilities. And I think it's very short-sighted that they only look at, the Air Force will only take a position on what the current mission is of the Air Force and what currently is at the base instead of what possibly could impact us in the future, because that base needs to stay strong and stay vibrant in Niagara County.
When we were in Washington earlier this year, we met with the DoD clearinghouse. Those are the people in the Pentagon who make those decisions. And we expressed our concern, and they basically have an open door policy. Anytime we want to talk to them about it or show any concern, we can. They do, as you know, in the military have certain rules they have to follow and so on. As far
Only
as,
too well do I know that.
Yes, I know you do. But they said that they'll take everything under consideration, but obviously they have to follow the rules. But like I say, there is some new language out there in this year's budget, and so I'll make sure that you get a copy.
Thank you, appreciate it. And thanks again for what your organization does. I'm a proud member of it.
Thank you very much. Anyone
Thank
else?
you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Mayor, do you have any opening comments at this point?
Now, just very briefly, I'd like to say, Mr. Cooper, thank you for coming and reminding everyone about NIMAC and its mission. And I strongly support the efforts of NIMAC and what they have done as an organization to keep that base here, especially during the troubled time, 1995, 2005, 2012. keeping that base here, which was really kind of on the chopping block, it seemed for, and it was some real hard struggles to keep it here, and as a, its location, of course, I think being right on the border here with Canada, and it's strategically located, and not only economically, the number of jobs it provides for Niagara County, but even our local city here, North Tonawanda. We have many people that are employed by that air base. So I would encourage the council to continue its support of NIMAC and its mission. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I agree. We do support that. We will continue to support you. And we appreciate the updates so that we can be aware of anything that's around the horizon that may cause an issue or a concern that we could get involved with and help solve any problems and things of that nature, especially when it comes to surrounding things with other municipalities where we might need to speak to them and discuss their options so they don't interfere with your base and its surroundings. Anybody else have any comments on that? All right, seeing that there are none, we're gonna move forward with,
Excuse me, I would like to speak.
we're just about to call up anybody that would like to speak on tonight's agenda. State your name and address, come up to the microphone. We have 5 minutes.
This agenda tonight is contact that takes a few hours and more than a couple of people speaking because of specifically agenda item 32.1, Community Development, North Tonawanda Smart Growth Fund, Contact Amendment, and 32.2, Community Development, North Tonawanda Brownfield Opportunity Area State Environmental Quality Review. If anyone were to look at this, read it. First of all, it takes time to read the seeker in this particular item. You have to digest it. You probably want to revert back to different laws we have in North Tonawanda. When you read it, you're also reading something that does not include our a new zoning ordinance. That is so basic. I was watching the hearing for the candidate for Supreme Court, and when I'm reading this, I'm thinking, this is the same thing. Of course, it's nothing new, but you're really trying to pull a fast one. People haven't even, I'm sure, I'd be willing to bet $100 to 1 that many people have not read this or what the different documents stated in this particular
Mike Zimmerman has kept us abreast of
Development.
all of this, and if he could,
Yeah, Mike, if you wanna
Speak to
speak
any
at
of
some
this.
point on it.
This is not the time to go over that.
Oh,
It
sure,
was- it
you're
was-
asking.
It was in the past that you go over, you had people
Well-
participating. We haven't had that here.
you ask and you'll get it, so he can speak about it if you have a question.
He can touch on it, but this is not a touching, this is a
No, it's a
participating.
process.
And Mike knows this.
It's a process, he's been very good with it.
I understand. The issue I think is that, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. This is a positive declaration.
Would you use the microphone so we can all hear and so a recording can be made of it, please?
Hi, Mike. How are you today?
Just fine, thank you.
I'm not done.
I just, okay.
Good evening. So this step in the seeker process is kind of the first step. This, in the documentation that you have included in the package, is a positive declaration in seeker. I think what someone you might be referring to, following this step, if a positive declaration is made, the next step is the completion of a full environmental impact statement. That is a much more lengthy and involved document, as well as a public review and public comment period. So those items haven't taken place yet. And that's the next step after this
You're
item
ahead
tonight.
before, you're doing something before.
Excuse me, Mike has the floor, excuse me.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
You heard it from him just now. You're doing something that is not the process yet.
No, this is
No,
the.
this
Yes,
is the
yeah.
process.
You're missing
Public
it.
comment will come.
I wish we had people who were interested in, I wish people had the time and would read what we have here. To the media that is here, this, what you have on the agenda today is very critical if you care about your neighborhood, and more specifically, as is pointed out in here, an area of my neighborhood, it appears, is part of this resolution you will make tonight. And it says in a couple, there's a lot here, so, and I'm limited, but to make the point, it is like excluding the neighborhood that's here, which is part of my neighborhood. You are saying we're already gonna decide what we're gonna have here. I know for my neighborhood over the decades, because they signed petitions, they do not wanna have their area downgraded. Or
2
have,
minutes, Sonia.
or have a, warehouse or what have you. They don't wanna have tons of people living near them. Not that they're against neighbors, but you have to use common sense, and that's what smart growth is. Making things better, more efficient, and you guys, you're not doing that.
Yes, we
You're
are.
just nitpicking the areas you wanna see. Some of these areas are friends and family. This is so wrong.
No, it's been
And this
submitted to the
smells,
state.
but hey, I've been doing this for a few years. How many times am I coming here? What I'm saying to you right now, I'll bet you people don't even know what's on the agenda today. If they did know, they would be fuming.
1 minute, Sonia.
And I will tell you, we have had litigation, we asked to have the law, the engineering department knows what's lacking, what has not been done, and what Judge Vincent Doyle and other judges have said in the past with the neighboring property has not been done. And I am going to make a point of that coming out. Whether you do or do not pass this today, after I make my comments to the appropriate people, they will be looking at you in certain departments because the way you are governing, it's not kosher anymore. The state is starting to clean up government.
The state is
Taking
giving
a
us
long
the funding.
time, but the thing is, there are things that have to be done accordingly and not pick and choose and keep people out from participating.
No, we're having a public comment period. You're just jumping the gun. We haven't announced that yet.
I
We
have
will hear it.
participated for some time.
We'll hear it.
When I was reading on here, I said, people didn't know
Thank
about
you,
this, and I
Sonia.
know it because of people speaking with me. You better take a hard look on decisions you are making and make sure you have followed the law,
Thank you, Sonia.
current and past.
Sonia, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that said, is there any way we can just postpone this and have Mike come in on a workshop then?
Why would we do that?
Mike, is that possible?
Yeah, it's possible.
Right? It's a lengthy.
Why, what is in question that we need to postpone?
I think just to go over it so everyone's on the same page. I mean, we have
He's been
workshops
going-
on
he's been
much
going-
smaller items than this.
Easier to talk about,
So-
what you understand.
He's doing the process, and this is part of it.
It's the first step of the process.
Right, so, but just as like a public sort of conversation is really what it becomes.
Well, they're declaring a positive secret, so.
Yeah, I just think something like this might want to be on a workshop agenda in the future.
I don't think it's
It was.
necessary, I think that the board can vote on it tonight.
Some of the things that we want to get across are progress. And you'd like to wait, and you'd like to look at this again. We've been talking at it at the workshops. Just because you weren't at the workshop doesn't mean we weren't discussing it. And Mike's done a great job with the process, and what he's trying to tell you, and I'll take the time to explain it because you're not listening to the response, is that we will get to the public comment period. We will hear what people have to say about what is being done. But this has been submitted to New York State, and we have their approval. We're not just willy-nilly picking projects for smart growth. I don't know where you came up with that from, but that is not what this government is about. It's not what Mike Zimmerman's office is about. You're saying Governor Cuomo is letting us do whatever we want. That's not the case
I
here.
didn't say that.
Well, we
I didn't
submitted
mention his
projects,
name.
that he approved. Do you understand that process? So, what I'm telling you is that we will have a public comment period, and so you're saying we're skipping it, but
A
we're
comment
not.
period of what?
Excuse me,
Of
you
what?
had the floor. A public comment on these types of things that we're looking to do and the projects that we're gonna be considering.
Mr.
But we haven't
Zerfelli,
gotten there
you are
yet.
pointing out
We haven't got out of there, we haven't gotten to that point yet. You're jumping the gun with what you're saying.
I get the last part.
You're jumping the gun with what you've just suggested
From what
tonight.
I'm reading here, it's very distressful. and I'll
Anyone
tell you,
else have any
it's
comments
an outrage
about
that
anything
people
else
don't have
on the
conscience to
agenda?
know about
Sonia,
this.
thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, Sonia, you had your 5 minutes. And if you want to rant from the audience, I will have the officer remove you. If you'd like to rant from your chair, if a speaker goes up there and shout out at the dais again, I'll have you removed from the audience.
I'm not a
Yeah,
robot.
I don't care, you had your time to speak, it's next, somebody else's turn.
You sound like somebody in Washington.
Sonia,
Zach Nemick, 384 Robinson. Tonight, I just want to come up here and strongly encourage the council to vote in the affirmative on the proposed agreement between the school district and the city and for the school resource officer, which is a much needed resource for this, between the two parties. This position is really, in my opinion, a win-win for both the city and the school district. Many people don't realize that an SRO doesn't just have safety as a facet of it, but education is a big piece of it as well. And that's really going to translate into creating better communities within our schools, but when those students leave our schools, that's going to translate into better community activities from these students as well. So again, I'd just like to really encourage you guys all to vote in the affirmative on that to allow the mayor to execute the contract for school starting tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Anybody else wishing to speak on anything on tonight's agenda? And the agenda only, please step forward, state your name and address at the microphone. Anybody else? All right, seeing that we have none, we'll move on.
approval of minutes of the special session, August 28th, 2018.
I'll make the motion that we approve the special minutes from the session.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Proof of publication published 8/22/2018. Legal notice, invitation for bids for replacement of main building roof. A, at the wastewater treatment plant, superintendent of wastewater water. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Alderman Zazoka,
I'll second it.
second by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Communications from city officials, the mayor, regarding appointment of Aaron Robinson to the Historic Preservation Committee.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Alderman Braun,
I'll second.
seconded by Alderman Ruby.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
From the city attorney regarding proposed school resource officer agreement between the city of North Tonawanda and North Tonawanda City School District.
As a member of the joint committee with the school board, I want to make that recommendation that we accept the school resource officer agreement.
Alderman Pecoraro,
I'd also like to, as a member of that joint committee, make a second that we accept the proposal.
second by Alderman
Can I
Zazoka.
have roll call, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye. Motion carries.
From the city engineer regarding acceptance of the federal aid local project agreement, project 2018-09, New York State Department of Transportation Pedestrian Safety Action Plan, PSAP program.
I want to
Can you
say,
tell us what that's about at least?
He's
Yeah,
about
it's
to,
a-
Yeah.
Can we have a,
Chelsea, go ahead.
We applied for a grant through the New York State DOT. It's 100% federally funded, so there's no city reimbursement. They gave us just over $375,000 to do improvements at 3 locations out of the 20-something that we had given them. Goundry in Maine, Tremont in Maine, and 16 and Payne. So basically pedestrian safety improvements will be adding head light signals, signage, better crosswalk paint, things like that at those 3 intersections. It's 100% reimbursable grant.
Thanks, Chelsea. And as a member of the committee that was on the source selection, this is a new grounds for us with this federal funded project, but the firm we will finally accept in 2 weeks at the next council meeting we interviewed 4 of the 8 applications that came into us. They were all fantastic. I don't think if we chose any one of the 8, we would have been very successful in the project, but thanks, Chelsea,
Yeah,
for your
this signing of
leadership.
the agreement is basically us agreeing with the DOT, and
Yeah.
we basically have to upfront the money, and then they reimburse
Yeah.
fairly quickly from what I've heard about these projects, so.
You bet,
Yep.
you bet. So in that case, I'm gonna make the motion that we accept the DOT Pedestrian Safety Action Plan program and with the federal project agreement.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Alderman Braun.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Abstain?
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries. Excuse me.
Can I ask any residents, please do not shout out. From the Superintendent of Wastewater Water, permission to partner with the New York State Department of Labor to create a free electrician apprenticeship program at the water wastewater treatment plant.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved by Alderman Berube, seconded by Alderman Zazoka.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
From the Superintendent of Wastewater Water regarding permission to have David Stacy take the programmable logic controls course at NCCC.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
I'll second.
seconded by Alderman Braun.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
From the City Accountant regarding payment of the abstract of claims dated September 4th, 2018.
Make a motion, we pay the abstracts.
I'll second.
Moved by Alderman Zazoka, seconded by Alderman Braun.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries.
From the City Accountant regarding budgetary transfer for the pedestrian crossing, control signal project, the Children's Memorial Garden, and for records management.
I'll make the motion that we accept those budget transfers.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
I'll second.
seconded by Alderman Berube.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this item, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Abstain?
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries.
Semi-annual vacation and sick leave reports, building inspector. Do I have a motion to receive and file?
I'll make that. I'll second it.
Moved by Alderman Tyler, seconded by Alderman Zazoka.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
From Community Development regarding the North Tonawanda Smart Growth Fund contract amendment.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Alderman Tyler,
I'll second it.
seconded by Alderman Pecoraro.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
From Community Development, North Tonawanda Brownfield Opportunity Area State Environmental Quality Review.
Make the motion that we accept the Brownfield Opportunity Statement seeker.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
I'll second it.
seconded by Alderman Zazoka.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
And communications from others, Vanguard Church, permission to use the city market parking lot for their trunk and treat Wednesday, October 31st, 2018, from 5 PM to 9 PM.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Alderman Braun,
I'll second it.
seconded by Alderman Pecoraro.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Historic Preservation Commission, permission to use the Carnegie Arts Center for Thursday, September 13th, 2018, for a community meeting.
I'll
So
make-
moved.
I'll
Sorry,
second.
Donna.
No,
I'll-
that's okay.
I got a second. I'll take the second.
Moved by Alderman Braun, seconded by Alderman Pecoraro.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Platters Chocolate regarding permission to host their annual Platters Chocolate Sponge Fest 5K race on Saturday, September 22nd, 2018.
I'll make that motion, please.
I'll second it.
Moved by Alderman Zazoka, second by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. At this point, if we'll move on to any public comment on any city issues. Please step forward, state your name and address at the microphone.
Hello, good evening. My name is, my musical name is Musical Marks. Musical Mark, if anybody don't really know who I am, but actually I advocate for City of North Tonawanda. I just want to say thank you, attendees and council for being here today. And my last name is Folger, so.
Mark, you have an address?
Yes, I was just gonna get to that. You want the proper number? 346 Gallagher Street, North Tonawanda, on the corner of Faulkner and Gallagher Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What I'm here today to discuss, I'm actually added to the North Tonawanda Farmers Market, North Tonawanda here, as well as other affiliates with NT's merchants assistance programs and things, and that I don't take much for profit, but what I do in my what I make at the market and whatever I get back to whatever I can. And I'm a low income person, and I'm not ashamed of that. So I don't want to be really long with anybody today, but what I'd like to say that what's going on with the North Tonawanda City Market is that even though I play my accordion there, I play other instruments also besides accordion, that, you know, I'd like to see the council within whatever money's budget that you have to revise the old signs that people can actually look at the metal pavilion, on the big building where the office is with Dale Rogers, and the bathrooms, restrooms. And so people, I think those are older signs. When I'm trying to just meet up with you, council, is if some money's in the budget to make new signs, meaning get rid of the old signs to get it revised as no dogs allowed, but service dogs are allowed to show your certification card. I think that would be cool. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of dogs that come up to me when I play. I get a little nervous, you know. I don't know if they're rabid. They might urinate in someone's produce that you might be buying. We don't know that. I'm not really a complainer with the city of North Tonawanda. I'm pretty neutral. I'm pretty laid back in a way. But that's why I'm here today. That let's. I know we enthused the legislation with the city of North Tonawanda with the no dogs allowed in the North Tonawanda City Market. I don't know what they're doing in the city of Tonawanda, but that's not in my ear right now. But I'm sure they're doing what they're doing. But this is the city of North Tonawanda on the other side of the canal. And the reason also, you know, and it's a health, Niagara County health issue with food, you know. And there's a lot of people around me when I play at the North Tonawanda City Market, and it's a pleasure for myself since I was 10 years old playing music as a compassion of myself and share back to others within the community of North Tonawanda. And it's just, you know, maybe we could get a few little signs where the entrance of Market Street is, like, instead of like maybe two signs, instead of a two-stop sign at some 3 or 4 stop intersections, you know how they have 2 stop signs, like stop, maybe a left and a right because it's a one-way. They can, on Market Street, they can, we can have a revised sign, maybe on the one roadside post, like no dogs allowed, just service dogs, and I've seen it at Family Dollar today.
Mark, you got a minute.
Okay, so if there's anybody else that wanna give me any other questions on my agenda with the council with this topic, feel free to ask me.
Mark, I fully concur. We have gone out of our way to let the public know, and now with our dog control officer patrolling the market on Saturdays and newer signs, I fully concur with you, and I think it's very doable for us to do, so thank you for those comments today.
And I just wanna say, if it's okay, just one,
Sure, Mark.
a few seconds. We do have a new dog controller, I never met the guy yet, but, there was nobody last Saturday, and I think if whoever wants to be around and enforce it, that would be great.
You bet.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Definitely look into it, Mark, no problem.
My name is Sue Wilk and I reside at 329 Miller Street. I would like to know what Bob Pegararo's complaint is against windmills.
My complaint against windmills is that future operational capabilities of the air base will be negated by having 700-foot wind generators on the coast. And I am dead set against it because those future missions are maybe developed now and maybe on the board in the next 10 years. And before you know it, the air base becomes not operational because of those wind generators.
Well,
That's why I'm against
Are
it.
you against windmills in
No.
general?
No, I'm against them being close to the air base.
Okay. I was wondering about that because the fastest growing occupation is a windmill technician in the United States. And also, I'm also against this compressor station, even though this is not a city thing, it's in our county, and that they want to build. And it's going to destroy this county, it's destroy the county quality of the air, and it's going to come over to, depending on how the wind is blowing, it's going to come over into our city. And I don't think the last has been said about the wetland devastation that's going to be done by the wetlands over off of Sweeney Street. I have just retired from the DOT. I work with civil engineers, and I also have been friends with geologists. And the soils that you use are going to build on, they're hydric soils. And I'd like to know what the seeker is dealing with that, with Mr. Marshall. And I don't think that water is going to have to drain someplace. I also had gone to an engineering conference on erosion, on coastal and shore erosions. And that's going to that's going to contribute to more water being added to Tonawanda Creek or the canal, and that's going to cause erosion. Also, because the water has no place to go, you're going to have a closed sewer system. That's costs money. And you're talking about keeping senior citizens in town so that they won't erode the tax base. I mean, it doesn't make any damn sense. Excuse the language. But as I said, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And also the condos don't need that much land if you were even going to build them there. You're spreading them out. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And we're destroying a lot of you're doing a lot of environmental damage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on any city business for the good of the city, please step forward, state your name and address.
Hi, good evening. My name is Erin Robinson. I'm at 229 Falconer Street. I just want to thank you for the appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission. And I invite all of us, the agenda item that was passed, to support the community meeting at the Carnegie Arts Center on September 13th to move forward and discuss the community plans for the lumber barren historic district. So I just wanted to, again, thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Congratulations,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak on any city business? Please step forward, state your name and address.
Krista Vince Garland, 238 Tremont Street. I'd like to thank all of you for approving the SRO contract. It means a lot to us moving forward in this school year, and it is much recognized and appreciated for the community effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on any city business?
Sonia Duza, 123 Miller Street, North Tonawanda. Given the way you conduct your common council meetings, Betty Huffman used to say dog and pony show, it's like boom, bang, boom, like you got a hot date. I'd like to make a recommendation to you and to let the community know that we need to go back where when you have a common council meeting and you are making a vote on a matter, you discuss it out here and let the people hear. Everybody cannot be at a common council meeting and a workshop. A lot of people can't even be at either one because of the constraints of their time and many people working several jobs, what have you. They also used to have meetings started at 7 o'clock. My point is this. You have an agenda and you go, first one, yes, how many? Yes, no, who wants it? You read it and then you vote. I had questions on a few of these things here. I didn't know what it was about. I'm insulted that you don't think I care. And you know what? You're missing the boat. You're here to serve the people, to represent them, to have them informed. Even if you didn't inform them ahead of time, at least before you do the vote, let them know what you're voting on and why, who's for it, who's against it. I'd like to see return to having workshop sessions in the common council as you're having it. That's the point I want to make. Getting back to your item on the community development, this has been so typical for several years. I forget, what year was it when they passed the proposed draft of the master plan? It's not been adopted, understand that. It's just proposed. So you are making decisions that you've got things hanging yet. It's not accepted. And here's an example, this particular two resolutions here, specifically the one on BOA. You are so out of line. You're rushing something, just like the candidate. People, first of all, you've got a process to do. You have a master plan that has not been adopted. There may be people, when it comes to adopting it, hearing people's voice, they will not like what you have, and they will not allow you to pass it. And you made a decision already that's impacting parts of the city that come under that master plan. You are way out of line. You don't have to be a lawyer to know that. I don't know how I can impress on you.
2 minutes, Sonia.
You do things as if, you remind me of somebody in Washington doing things as if it's his country. He does what he wants. People don't like that. Sure, you have some people who pat you on the back, but you're doing a lot of things in government that's not kosher. And you know, finally, this state is beginning to change. The crooks are being found out, exposed, and other people. We've got to stop the way we've been conducting business in North Tonawanda. It's of the people, by the people, for the people, not friends and family. And it doesn't matter what political persuasion you are. We have a reputation that's not good. We need to change for the better. Of the people, by the people, for the people. There's a lot to share with you, but I think as time passes, things will start to be cleaned up, but it may take maybe more than 2 years, but it's going to happen. believe me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Mike, come on up.
Yeah.
I wish you would, thank you. Please feel free.
Thank you. Regarding the agenda item with the Brownfield Opportunity Area seeker, I want to just make clear that the BOA master plan that's being referred to, it's correct to say that it has not been adopted yet. However, you can't adopt a master development plan until seeker is complete. So had it been adopted already, that would have been a misstep in the procedures. We have to get through the seeker process.
Good point.
So why didn't you do it before this?
Excuse me. Sonia, we're not gonna have yelling out at the audit from the
That
audience.
was an important
Excuse
comment
me,
to make.
then make it after the meeting to him, but he's got the floor.
When it's close.
When it's his floor, you want your respect, give him his.
Regarding the seeker process, what was approved by the council tonight was the first step in the process. It was a acknowledgement by the city that the master development plan that's proposed may very well include negative impacts on the environment. Any master development plan falls under that. There are positive declarations under seeker because any significant development can potentially have negative impacts on the environment. The step that will follow this positive declaration is now an environmental impact statement will be drafted. That's where each of those potential negative environmental impacts are studied in detail. A report is prepared. That report goes to your body, but also to the public for public comment. There's a 30-day public review period before that, and any public comments that are received during that period have to be addressed and incorporated into that document.
So there's a process that we're following.
Correct.
Right,
Before
so,
this body.
and Mike, basically, we have to see what's going on over there and what we can and can't build in the area.
But this is the first step in that process.
Correct.
And I have every confidence in our department head, Mike Zimmerman, in the community development. He's very knowledgeable, he hasn't steered. We have so much going on in the city as far as community development, and I have every confidence in our department heads throughout the city.
And
That's what you're here for.
yeah.
You're here to move the city along.
I fail to see why we would get $2.5 million or any of this funding if we didn't have our ducks in a row in order to make progress happen in the areas that we see and identify as, and you can speak on that, like, that, have been agreed upon. We're not just going willy-nilly on projects that are friends and family. I don't like that illusion. We're definitely have well thought this out. We've talked about it at numerous workshops. We're able to vote with it on good conscience because we have discussed it and because you have communicated it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak on any city business, please step forward. State your name and address. Seeing that there's none, before we go into closing comments, I have a supporting council resolution I'd like to read. And I'd like to call up the members from the Niagara Reporter. We had thought about, one of the things we've had residents that have been clamoring for is more news sources, more areas to get events and things that need to be seen in the city. Where do I go for my news? Papers have come, papers have gone. And what we like to say tonight is we have another news source that's stepped up and is focused on North Tonawanda and that we can get our news from and we can find out the critical events that some of the people have said, where do I go to find this? It's not on the website. Well, this is a free circulation, a free publication, and I just wanted to read off a supporting resolution thanking them and making the public aware of this paper and that they're reporting on North Tonawanda. This was dated from the Common Council, August 28th, 2018. Whereas the community of NT has many community newspapers that have come and go over the recent years in this economic climate, and whereas the NT residents have been requesting more newspapers that cover the city of NT, its local news, events, and reports and updates. And whereas the Niagara Reporter newspaper is a free newspaper currently distributed at 15 places throughout businesses in North Tonawanda and growing, now be it resolved that the North Tonawanda Common Council, in its desire for more transparency and local reporting, is making it known that the Niagara Reporter is another new, free, viable news source for our NT residents to go to for the latest news and information. I just wanted to thank you for reporting news from our city and presenting with that.
Thank you.
Moving forward, any closing comments from Austin Tyler, starting with you?
So, hello everyone. It's always good to see a crowd of people. To start Platters Chocolate's 5K run, they are looking for volunteers, of quite a few. If anyone's interested, please feel free to see myself. It could be just handing souvenirs, food out, or water and such. So if you're interested in doing that, that'd be great. Sonia, I understand what you're saying to some extent. You know, I would like to see some of these items just a little bit more transparent on the agenda, you know, workshop and so on. We have lighter items on the agenda, the workshop agenda a lot of times, so it would be nice to see some of these heavier items on the workshop agenda as well. Although we do have community meetings a lot of times with these to help go through the process, not a lot of times it's accessible by everyone because they could be during the day or so on. So it's something that I think we're all continuing to work on to try and fit everyone's schedules in the community. So thanks for your comments. And then Aaron Robinson, congratulations. I'm told you have your PhD in history?
Sociology and environmental studies.
Oh, look at that, right? So it's very exciting to have you on board for the Historic Preservation Board, so congratulations again. And Mark, also, I think we can have a discussion about the signage at the market. We've talked about it a lot of different times about what it needs to say, and I think you bring up a good point that, you know, the service dogs should maybe be labeled, you know, you don't want to discriminate against someone who might need a service dog from coming to the market thinking, well, why can't I bring them? So, yeah, it was a good point. So, and of course, I'm probably not the only one who's excited to see that security in the school district will be enhanced with the addition of an SRO. I think it's also exciting that the school and the city work together to come to this agreement, and hopefully this continues for the years to come. So we're now at par with other surrounding municipalities and when they have SROs as well. So, but with that, thank you again for coming, everyone.
Alderman at large Bob Pecoraro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can tell, I'm a big advocate of the Niagara Falls Air Base to the extent that I've had conversation with NIMAC and Chairman Cooper in the past, and I, in my military training, know that 700-foot wind generators is not the way to go. May not be a current impact to operational missions today, but how quickly those operational missions change. And I let the governor know my opinion, and he said he was going to get back to me after appropriately studying it. But I'm passionate about the air base. It's our #1 economic generator in Niagara County, and we have to keep it alive, as well as those residents in North Tonawanda that are employed by the air base. I want to congratulate the Niagara Reporter for the proclamation today, in that the residents in North Tonawanda clamor for another news source. And that's the #1 thing I hear every day, is that they want more news and more understanding of what is going on in North Tonawanda, so we appreciate all of that. And then last, as you know, I'm involved tremendously in this North Tonawanda Community Hub. Our next hub is on the September 19th from 10 to 12 at Redeemer Lutheran Church. Those service providers represented there during those times are going to be from law, medical, quality of life and education. And then there's actually a special event from 12 to 1:30 sponsored by the Civil Legal Advice and Resource Office, otherwise known as CLARO. This is to help people that are in debt and of low income, to assist them as they go forward in any adjudication process through the legal system. And that will happen between 12 and 1:30 on September 19th, and that's a Wednesday at Redeemer Lutheran Church. So that's the major theme for this hub, is on the support for residents, especially low income, that are facing debt and are facing legal proceedings. So if you know of anybody in that category, please get them there to Redeemer Church from 12 to 1:30. And again, just as a final closure, the resource officer for the schools is a critical item that we took very seriously and acted upon very quickly, and I'm glad to see everything is moving well and in place. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll conclude my comments.
Thank you, Bob. Alderman Mark Berube, any closing comments from you?
Just a couple. I'd like to reiterate Aaron's appointment to the Historic Preservation. I think he'll do a wonderful job there. Again, with the SRO officer, glad we finally have all come to an agreement and gotten that settled. I think that'll be something that going forward will be very, very productive. And lastly, because of some of the comments that were made, I just want everybody to know that we don't do things backdoor. As kind of indicated that we are upfront and open. Our meetings are all open. We're now videoing our meetings. You can come upstairs on the opposite Tuesdays for the workshop sessions where we discuss everything in detail and try and get things worked out and stuff. And I kind of offended by the notion that we're doing things backdoor silently when we're not. Other than that, I have nothing more.
Thank you, Mark. Alderwoman Donna Braun.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I also, of course, I would like to thank both the committee members from the school board and the committee members from the city that worked diligently on the contract for the SRO. As we all know, it's the environment that we live in these days, and it's very important to have that in place, as you said, Mr. Nemick, tomorrow at beginning of school. And I'd also like to thank our city attorney for looking over the contract in our best interest. Mark, I had a meeting in the springtime with Dale Rogers and a lot of the vendors, the farmers that come to the market. And one of their suggestions was better signage throughout the market. So we definitely can look into having signage done at the market.
Not in a hurry, like tomorrow.
Okay, no, but it's important. It's important. And the dogs at the market, I am a huge dog. I love to take my dog everywhere, but I wouldn't even think to bring it to the market because, as you said, it's a health issue. So hopefully we can keep that under control with our new dog control officer. Of course, I would also like to congratulate Aaron Robinson on the historic appointment. And I do have to reiterate what I said earlier. We have department heads in this city that I think every single one of us, I would hope up here, have the confidence that they are there to do their job. They're bringing their work to us for us to approve. And everything on this agenda, correct me if I'm wrong, was discussed at a workshop. Whether it was last week or within the last week, I know the DOT project, Bob Pecoraro represented us, went to the meetings. He is very informative. He comes back because he's retired, but he is probably up here just as much as anybody else that works at City Hall. He's very informative. He goes to all these meetings. He comes back, he informs us, his fellow council. So I just have every confidence in every department head, that I've worked with. I sit on the Lumber City Board of Directors with Mike Zimmerman. He is very knowledgeable. I feel that he is moving the city in the right direction with everything that we are doing. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Mayor Arthur Pappas.
Congratulations, Aaron, and welcome aboard to a very important committee. Now it's become more important in recent years, Historic Preservation Committee. So thank you for your volunteering to take part. The SRO, of course, we're all glad that that's in place finally. It's taken a lot of hard work on the part of school committees, city committees, police department. And fortunately, everyone has come together with what I think is going to be a very effective program, and hopefully can keep, as one tool to keep our students safe within our schools. Mark, we've been discussing the dogs at the market for a while now, and it's become pretty well known that we don't want dogs there. And the dog control officer, he is out and around, and in fact, as recently as today, he's been up and down neighborhoods with a list of people that their dogs aren't registered, or their rabies shots, whatever aren't in order. He's been hitting those homes as recently as today. And the signs, we've been talking about those, so they'll be in place. And those are all excellent points you brought up, so thank you. I want to bring attention to, if you haven't noticed, the Children's Memorial Walkway outside, right across from the parking lot. It's getting close to its finishing touches. It's really shaping up to be a very beautiful area. And next week, we have a meeting of the committee that started working on this, along with Dale Marshall, and we're going to be setting up a dedication ceremony, which we will be announcing probably sometime next week or shortly after. So I have to thank Dale Marshall for all he's done on that, because he's been unbelievable, and Chelsea for your services too. Thank you, along with many volunteers. We'll mention those as we get closer to the dedication. You know, I want to bring this out. I don't like to hammer at these things. But Sonia, I feel very upset for you, not for us. Upset for you that you can be so ill-informed. I feel bad that you're as ill-informed as you are. Because this council, I've been following North Tonawanda politics since I've been a teenager.
Since when?
Since I've been a teenager. And I have followed everything in this town, and you know, I think right now we have one of the most transparent councils that I have ever seen working together. And if you can't see that, I don't understand why. Now, you were complaining on several occasions that there was no place to read about things. We have more members of the press now than ever before. We have the Niagara Reporter, we have the Tribune, we have the Gazette, we have the Sun, we have the Amherst Bee, and you're still complaining. Now, don't interrupt me, don't interrupt me, don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you. Do you remember that? I did not interrupt you.
You're addressing
I did
me.
not interrupt you. Now, we are videotaping, we have audio, we followed your suggestions, we have listened to you, and you know, you are very, very negative on your own community. And people that are that
Because I
negative,
care.
when people are that negative about their community, there's something wrong in the thinking, because they can't be that well informed. I would love to see you come out with something positive just for once. And you are one of the few citizens that doesn't do that. Because we get more compliments about our department heads and our police department, our fire department, our
DPW 's getting
DPW.
better and better.
Yes, they are. You know why? Because this council and their department heads are working together. And I don't know how much more transparent we can be. We have newspapers, we have free ones, we have subscription ones. My office door is open every day. I have an open, don't interrupt, I have an office open every single day. You have yet to come to ask a question in that office. You're around the building, I don't know where you're going, but I have the open door policy, and yet you are still so ill-informed. I wish you would try, I wish you, excuse me, you're interrupting.
Excuse me.
I did not do that to you.
Excuse me.
And I do think it is discourteous for you to not outright accuse, but to imply that this council is doing things behind your back and behind the citizens' back. That's false. And I think you should be informed of that. And if you have any reason, good reason, to believe that we are doing anything behind your back, I want you to come to me and put it out there.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Last October, I think it was. I showed you the facts. You're sure so.
You're showing me facts from 1954, 1960.
Yes.
Last
Come on.
October, I believe it was
Okay.
October.
All right,
I think
Okay,
right-
he's addressing your concerns.
All right,
Please let
so
him.
At least we're having a dialogue. This is good, Mayor.
This is not a
This is
dialogue.
good. Thank you. This is really good.
well, I'm glad you appreciate it, and I hope you learned something from it.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Art.
Thanks.
And City Attorney Luke Brown, any closing comments?
I'm supposed to follow that one.
Yes, you have to follow that.
I would just like to say, thank the school board attorney, Jim Rooney, who did a lot of the drafting on the contract language and incorporated the
Is the
changes.
microphone on?
Sorry. And incorporated a lot of the changes that I requested, so I just wanted to thank Jim and the rest of the board for moving forward on that contract.
All right. City Clerk Treasurer Dan Quinn, any closing comments?
I only have two. Next Thursday, September 13th, just for those who are interested, they are having a Democratic primary for governor. It's the only elected seat that you guys can vote for around here this next Thursday. Secondly, from today through October 1st, in the council chambers, they are having the senior star exemption. So our city assessor, along with her staff, are located within these council chambers from 9 to 3 every morning, Monday through Friday. So if you are a senior or you know a senior, you have any questions or concerns, please show up. Yes,
Don't we get something in the mail so we know to come?
you could have. Yeah. You might have. But if you have any questions or concerns, just show up and they will help you out.
Okay. And lastly, my closing comments here are a couple of reiterations that were well made by my counterparts in government. The SRO was very important to not only the city, our students, the school district, but to the community at large. And it wasn't something that we could enter in lightly. It wasn't something that we could rush. It was something that we needed to do our due diligence on because our safety of our residents and our students are top priority. So, we had many meetings, many discussions, and I'm glad we could agree on sharing services, and this is what I like to see about sharing services, where the city stands to benefit from this shared service, and the school district stands to benefit. And these are the things that I want to see more of, so that both of the entities can work together and find out where resources can be pooled, where they can be shared, and where they can be problems can be solved on a mutually beneficial relationship. So I say to the committee members in the audience that are on the school board committee, Bob and myself and the mayor, we look forward to more constructive sessions. We wanted to put our best foot forward with that SRO. We wanted to make sure that the agreement was ironclad so that we didn't have to take a step back, that we didn't have to make any adjustments, because once this person is put in a position, they're the one that's connecting with the students. They're the one that's going to be the point person. And next year, we really don't want to have to make any changes. We want to make sure that everything is covered, all our bases are covered. And we wish our best success going forward in any cooperative matters that we can discuss and issues. We will be happy to work with you as that transpires. And that officer will take his post, I believe, tomorrow, correct?
What is that particular item on the agenda? What is that about?
We just discussed it, but we can discuss it afterwards. I was just saying what it was. Sonia, this is where listening comes into play.
School resource officer, I don't know.
You're having a police officer that's going to be on the campus for the high school and the middle school, to be the point person to help with the students, to keep things under control, and to monitor the school. So, safety, that's what it's about. So, you know, these are the things that, you know, I don't know, Sonia, you just got done saying this. These are the things, if you look around, and you don't have to look hard, you see all these things in the community, they're not happening by accident. They really aren't. And it's not happening from non-transparency either, because we're working with other boards. We're working with anyone that wants to work with us, department heads. So to cast aspersions on what's being said and done and how we got there, we'll be happy to explain it, but just because you missed a meeting doesn't mean we didn't discuss it. Doesn't mean it didn't transpire. Doesn't mean that Mike didn't do his due diligence, or any of us up here at the top.
About this item.
No, all the items.
So don't-
I mean, we're looking at the whole agenda. But I'm not gonna say any more on it because I think we've said enough. I just wanna congratulate Aaron on your appointment here to this committee. We look forward to what you have to bring and your perspective, and I welcome you to that committee. Mark, we're working on this with our dog control officer. I know you've been told, but that's something in the works. He's rather new to this situation, and he's already diving in, so we're gonna get that taken care of for you. You have all of our support on that. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn. You want to say one more thing?
Yeah, I just want to congratulate, because we've been talking about that SRO, I'd like to congratulate all members of the press, because for I don't know how many months now, every one of you has reported on the SRO and has reported lengthy stories, factual interviews with people, interviews with administrators and city officials, and this has been going on for months. And again, it's been every reporter here. You missed it, Sonia.
I was
You're
in a workshop
ill-informed.
where it was brought up,
Well,
but if,
okay.
It's in every paper.
It's
when
in
it's
every-
coming up for that vote, you would say this is about that
It's
safety,
in every
having a
paper.
patrolman.
It's
We
been
would
in every
remember.
paper. It's been in every paper.
I'm sure I read it in one of the, couple of the papers, but when you have it written like that.
With that, I'd like to
you're wondering,
entertain a
what is
motion
that
to
one?
adjourn.
It's just a nice
I'll
reminder.
make that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Meeting is adjourned.
Hi, Mark. Sorry about the, old tag. What's, talking about the discussion. Yeah. So this is some of the stuff
I found out.